Hello everyone, welcome to Lost in the Stacks. I'm Christy. I know that I said I'm going to post every single weekend, and the past 3 weeks I've been MIA. That's because life has been chaos. We were in the path of Hurricane Helene, so without power for almost a week, without internet for over a week, it was not fun. But everything's fine now. And I'm back and I'm making videos. My plan is to merge September and October reads together and do that next month. But today we're going to be talking about my fall book recs. These are all books that I've read before that I love and I think are great. I've split it into 7 different sections. So you know what? Let's start with the first one. My first section, and most of these contain like 2 to 3 books. My first section is Cozy Fairy Tale. And what goes within Cozy Fairy Tales? An epic adventure called The Lord of the Rings. I currently am rereading Fellowship of the Ring. I'm almost done. I'm going to try and read through the whole Lord of the Rings by the end of fall. We're going to see how that goes. I think it's going pretty good, but we'll see. But if you've never read Lord of the Rings, which you're crazy if you haven't, and you're like an avid book reader, because like, especially if you like fantasy, like Tolkien invented high fantasy basically. Like maybe, I don't know if he actually like invented it, but like modern high fantasy, if you've never read his books, you need to. Basically, I don't know how to explain it. I was going to explain it, but I don't know how to explain it because you have to read it to like understand it. So yeah, that's my assignment for you. Your homework for this week is to pick up the Fellowship of the Ring, or at least The Hobbit. If you're not ready for the 3-part series, just read The Hobbit because that's cozy and great. But yeah, I don't know what this one piece of hair is doing. It's like not wanting to behave right now. Bothering me. The other book I would recommend under this is Thorn Hedge by T. Kingfisher. I love T. Kingfisher. She's got a couple references in here. But this book is it's a cozy fantasy. It is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, but where Sleeping Beauty is trapped because she's evil. And it's so good. And it follows this little fairy fairy human hybrid thing? I don't know. Who has to protect and keep people from waking up Aurora. And there's this knight who wants to wake her up. And so it's really fun, and I really liked it, and it's a short little read. It's fun. And yeah, if you want cozy fantasy and you're not ready for Lord of the Rings, that's a good place to start, is Thornhedge. Next on our list is cozy spooky books. And I just put one series in here, and that is the Emily Wilde series by Heather Fawcett, because I am obsessed with this series. I've already read the 3rd book. Guys, you're in for a great treat with that book. I don't think that the 3rd book is great for if that is the first book you're reading in the series. But if you read the 1st book, the 2nd book, and you love them, you'll love the 3rd book. It was amazing. Basically, it is about this dryadologist, person who studies fairies, and she goes out on these adventures, and currently she is writing an encyclopedia of fairies in the 1st book. And she has 3 projects and different ones that she works on, and the books are named after those projects. And so she goes and she studies these fairies throughout the books, along with the help of Wendell, who is a fairy and is a giant simp for Emily. And I just love their dynamic, and they make me so happy, and like it's just so cozy, but it's also spooky because the fairies are kind of crazy and scary. So yeah, if you want kind of cozy, scary, spooky books, Emily Wilde. I hope I'm like making you want to read it because they're my favorite. I think that's my favorite series of the year. So we'll see what happens by the end of the year, whether something else takes that, but it's probably going to be that. Okay, so the next one is called tingly modern fairy tale, okay? Stay with me. So I have 3 books in here. 2 of them are related. So, what is this? Melissa Albert wrote The Hazelwood. So it's a duology. I have not read the second book because I felt like the first book was good on its own and I didn't need to read the second book. And I don't plan on reading the second book. But it is about this girl. I'm trying to remember. It's about this girl who I'm trying to remember. Yes. Her grandmother, who she's never been allowed to like meet or talk to, wrote this book called Tales of the Hinterland. And it is a very popular book, but people have a hard time finding it. So her mom dies, and so she decides she's going to go find her grandma. And she gets wrapped up in this whole wild adventure, and it's just very spooky, very creepy, and I really liked it. And then Melissa Albert also published Tales of the Hinterland, which is just full of like not cozy, creepy fairy tales, like Hans Christian Andersen, Brothers Grimm style fairy tales, and I love it. So I would suggest just reading that one, The Tales of the Hinterland, on its own. You could do that, but if you really like, what's it called? The Hazelwood. My brain is not working this morning. If you really like The Hazelwood, then you'll probably like Tales of the Hinterland. But yeah, I love those. Those pretty good. The other book is Gallant by V.E. Schwab, which I love V.E. Schwab. She's one of my favorite authors. I'm slowly reading through all of her books, but she has so many, and I feel like she's always coming out with another one that's like impossible to keep up. But I love her, and Gallant is similar to the Hazelwood a little bit, where she gets taken to a relative's house, distant relative that she's never met, their house, and gets like drawn into these stories that she has no idea what she's doing, and it's very dark and spooky and creepy. And I loved it. And I also love the format of the book because it is a square and it has all these like drawings and stuff in it from her mom, and I love it. I bought the book just for the aesthetic, and then I love the book. So, you know, I love when that happens, when I buy the book because it's pretty, and then I love the book itself. So but yeah, let's move on. Next one. I made this section this morning because I realized I didn't have Dark Academia, and I was like, Christy, you didn't. And like all the books I've been reading in October so far have been Dark Academia, and I'm like, Christy, you are failing your like viewers if you don't talk about Dark Academia. So we're talking about Dark Academia, and we're talking about the books that I'm currently reading. So I'm currently reading the second book in Ninth House. So Hellbent. I read Ninth House. It is, and I will say this again in the next like reading wrap up video, this is my favorite Leigh Bardugo book of all time. Is Ninth House. I like it more than Six of Crows. I still love Six of Crows, but it's definitely better. And I love it. It's so juicy and great, and I love it. Basically, Ninth House and Hellbent follow a girl. I'll start better. So at Yale, there are secret societies. This is set in modern day. It might be like a few years in the past, but set in modern day, Yale has secret societies. It's a real thing. But Leigh Bardugo took those secret societies and picked like 8 of them to be magic societies. So in this parallel universe, they have magic, and it's very like necromancer style magic. It's very like ghoulish, and I like it. But there's this 9th house called Lethe, and they govern over the other 8 houses and make sure that they don't misuse magic. That's our whole job. And this one girl, she is very unlikely to be at Yale in general, but she gets specially chosen because she can see ghosts. They're called Greys in this book. And so she gets specially chosen, gets a full ride to Yale, all of this. but things start to go horribly wrong while she's there, of course. Can't have a good book without things going horribly wrong. And the way Leigh Bardugo writes this book is like, she sets up the world, like, you know what the world is, but she does not give you all the information about the past. She like gives it to you in little bits and pieces throughout the first book. And like by the end of the first book, you kind of have a good sense of everything that has happened to the main character and what's going on. But she doesn't give it to you all at once, and I really like that way that she wrote it. It flows very well. I need to save this for the for the wrap-up video. But I love Ninth House, very good. Dark Academia. Yeah. I'm loving Hellbent so far as well. Next, and I'm also reading, I think this is the second book in the Jim Flockhart series. It's called Dark Asylum. I think the first book is called Beloved Poison. So this is by E.S. Thompson, who is another one of my favorite authors. This follows Jim Flockhart, who is an apothecary in Victorian England, and she is a woman who disguises herself as a man so that she can be an apothecary. She was basically forced by her father to do it. But it actually is really great for her because she gets to solve all these murders and stuff using her medical knowledge. And it gives really good Sherlock Holmes vibes. And I love Jim. I love Will Quarterman, which is her sidekick. And I love these books. They are some of my favorites. I love reading about the Victorian era and stuff, and especially Victorian medical history is very fascinating to me. So, and I'm the author of this. She actually is a medical historian, so she knows her stuff and she writes really well. And yeah, I highly recommend this entire series. This is the third book I've read in the series. I think there's 6 books. I have 4 of them. I need 2 more. So if anyone wants to buy any of those, I need Nightshade, and there's one other one that I need that I don't remember the name of right now that came out last year that I didn't even realize she put out, and I was kind of upset about that. But yeah, this woman is amazing. She's one of those people who you can actually send her messages on Instagram and she'll reply. So I send her every so often, like reading her book, and I'm like, how did you come up with this? Where did you get these histories from? Please send me books that I can read that will like give me more information. And she does, which is really cool. I think that's such a cool thing that she's a smaller author and she's able to do that. But yeah, I'm spending way too much time talking about this. Let's actually get into more books. So next is dark fantasy, and I have 2 duologies that are very similar that I think that you will love. And everyone on Book Talk and all of that has probably heard of one of these, at least. But if you haven't heard of the other one, yeah. So the 2 series are the Wilder Wood duology by Hannah Whitten and the Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillig. And everyone was obsessed with the Shepherd King duology like earlier this year. I loved it. I loved both of these. But they're very similar. They're both dark fantasy. They're very dark fantasy. I loved it. Lots of dark, twisted magic. They're written very similarly in like the style. Though they are 2 separate authors, I honestly think that Rachel Gillig read Hannah Whitten's book and was like, I want to make something like this because I love it so much. I don't know that for sure, but that's my theory. Because they are so similar and give off the same like vibes. And Wilder Wood duology is actually the books that got me back into reading after school. So basically, Wilder Wood follows these 2 sisters. So one of them, she is basically in this world, the one sister becomes queen, the other sister gets sacrificed to this person called the Wolf to keep these ancient kings that want to basically rule the world and put us into a second darkness kind of thing. And so she gets sacrificed, but the wolf ends up being like a pretty decent dude. And yeah, there's a subplot romance there. There's a subplot romance in both books, 2 separate ones. and I loved it. Each sister gets their own guy, and I really, but they're unique and they're different, and I really loved it. But basically find out that not everything is as it seems in this world, and so they have to go on these quests to save the world and change things, and it's just really interesting. And that is very similar to what happens in the Shepherd King duology, where this girl, there are these deck of, I think it's 14 cards. It's like tarot cards that have magic in them, and the holders of those cards can use magic, but there's always like a sacrifice to the magic, which I love when books are like that. Magic systems, they have sacrifice. But this one girl, she accidentally touches a nightmare card, and the nightmare that's in the card goes into her and becomes like a second soul in the back of her brain. And it's just really interesting. And honestly, I thought that Shepherd King was better than, am I going to say this? It was definitely better than Wilderwood, but they're also very similar, and I love them both. So I'm not hating on either one. But if you're looking for dark fantasy with a subplot of romance, both of these series are great. And yeah, very spooky, very great for fall. So we've gone from cozy fantasy to dark academia to more dark fantasy. Now we're getting into the horror. So we have low-key horror and we have high-key horror. So I'm like separating them. I have more for low-key horror because I read more of that kind of stuff. I don't really read like the dark, really dark, scary horror very much, but I do like horror, so I read this stuff. The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Call. Okay, I love Cassandra Call. She is such a prolific writer. Not prolific, that's not the word I'm looking for. Very good, like, how do you say, like, what's a good word for, like, she's, like, incredible? Like, she's just an incredible writer. She knows how to write, and she knows how to twist words, and she knows how to confuse you in a good way. Like, any book I read by her, I have no idea what the heck is going on for, like, the majority of the book, but I love it at the same time, and I don't know how she does that. But that's the way it is. You will be confused, but you will enjoy it. And I think that's just a good horror, like, is that you are confused. And Nothing But Blackened Teeth, is that the one no, The Salt Grows Heavy is this one. I have two of her books. The Salt Grows Heavy is the first book I read by her. It is about this mermaid and this priest, I think it was, who go on an adventure together. They burn down everything and then go on an adventure together. I don't remember. I just remember it being creepy and spooky and the vibes being good. Let's get into something that I actually remember, Nettle and Bone. This is by T. Kingfisher. This first T. Kingfisher book that I ever read. I read it last year, I think. And again, I was confused, and I feel like I need to read it again because I feel like I'd be less confused the second time around. But this girl, her sister's been captured or something, and she's got to go on this adventure into very dark and twisted lands to save her sister. Also, there's a goblin market, and I loved it. That was my favorite part of the whole book, if I'm remembering correctly. And then this is this book that's very close to my heart. This book I'm about to mention, I might talk about it a little too much. It's called Don't Let the Forest In. This is by C.G. Drews. This is their first horror novel, and it's YA. They're also coming out with another YA horror next year, and then like an adult horror as well. They have like 2 or 3 more horror books coming on because they finally are like, I found my genre. Like, and listen, this person is so good at writing horror. Like, I loved it. Basically, this kid, he goes to a like boarding school and with his sister and his best friend, but his best friend draws monsters, and our main character, he writes about those monsters, and it's like they work on their stuff together, and the monsters that this one friend draws start coming to life, and so they have to defeat the monsters, and there's all these other like things that are going on, and this book comes out on October 28th, I think. Might be 29th. I don't know, I'll check that later. I think it's October 29th. But listen, if you like horror and you like just very good, well-written, spooky stories, this is for you. If you like good ace representation, this is a good book. If you want to understand what that is like more, this, because it's part of the plot and it's just really, I just love it so much. It is my favorite book that I've read this year. I will say that. And that says a lot if I say that. And I actually ordered the special edition, Barnes & Noble edition. I'm very excited for, because it's supposed to have like an extra chapter and like illustrations and stuff. So I'm like really excited, and it's supposed to come in, and I'm going to read it a second time before the end of October, and I'm so hyped. And it's going to be all over Instagram, and y'all are going to hate me for how much I'm going to talk about this. Because I love this book so much. But yeah, I'm very excited for the other horror books that C.G. Drews is going to come out. If you like horror, if you like kind of low-key horror stuff like I do, you'll probably love this book. I suggest you at least try it out when it comes out. But yeah. High-key horror. The one book I have on here is Nothing But Black and Teeth by Cassandra Clare. Because it's pretty dark. I didn't like it as much as The Soft Grows Heavy, but I did really enjoy it. It is very dark, but it was pretty good at the same time. Basically, this girl and her friends, they go to Japan and they go and stay in a haunted house. And they're like, it's haunted. And then it's actually haunted by like this dead bride who wants to murder everyone because she didn't get to her one true love never came back to her, and she's just like really vengeful about it. And it's pretty scary, but I liked it. Yeah, it's another short little horror. I was definitely confused half the time, but I feel like I also need to read it again. So I might be reading more Cassandra Clare this month before the month is over. Maybe on Halloween. So those are my fall book recs. I hope you like them. I loved all of these books when I read them, and I probably need to reread like half of these. But yeah, if you're looking for good books, check out these. Please check out Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews when it comes out, because it's amazing and I love it, and it's just like and I'm going to be very annoyed talking about it all month. So yeah, I hope that was helpful to you to find some good little books to read as fall is. I know we're halfway through, but you know, as the second half of fall is going in, it's starting to get cold actually here in South Carolina, and I'm so happy about it. But yeah, thanks for watching my video. I hope that I will keep up with making a video every week. We'll see what happens. Hopefully no more hurricanes come through. Yeah. I never know how to close. I never know how to do outros. I don't know why. I need to figure that out. We'll see. But yeah, I hope you enjoy some of these books and read them. So yeah, bye!